This is Fred Ricciani of TSC News here to recap WWE SmackDown Live for August 8th, 2016. I'm here to recap the show from top to bottom, and I'm here to answer your questions live on the air. If you're listening live on YouTube, we appreciate it. Feel free to give us a like, give us a share. If you're listening on demand, either on YouTube, YouTube Red, SoundCloud.com/TSC News, Stitcher, Google Play, you name it, we greatly appreciate the support. This SmackDown was a hell of a lot more watchable than last week. I would not call it a great episode. It was a decent episode with some usual WWE flaws, but it was a hell of a lot more watchable and easier to digest than Monday Night Raw, which just dragged and dragged and dragged. Part of it is that SmackDown is a 2-hour show and Raw is 3 hours. And man, what are we now? In week 3 of the brand extension, the new brand extension in 2016, and already Raw is starting to feel a little stale. Now that could change if Finn Balor wins the title and we have pay-per-views every month, and it kind of builds to a destination every now and then. But I don't know, man. 3 hours is a lot of time to fill. 5 hours of programming in general for WWE is a lot of time to fill, but this wasn't too bad. We opened the show with a promo. The Wyatt family was talking junk about Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler. Bray claimed that Dolph did not beat him last week, that he cheated and used the exposed turnbuckle, even though, of course, Bray Wyatt, the heel, was using the exposed turnbuckle. And so he made a challenge to Dolph Ziggler. Dean Ambrose came out, cut a much better promo than he did last week. I know some people really loved last week's promo, and put it this way. The verbiage was good. He pretty much said last week, Dolph, you worry about showing off. You worry about your hair. You worry about your tights. You worry about shaking your ass. You worry about the girls. You worry about social media, but you don't worry about the most important thing, winning. Now, I articulated that better than Dean Ambrose did last week. Dean Ambrose was going 110 miles an hour last week. You worry about your shorts. You worry about your hair. You worry about the office. You worry about the politics. He just went so fast. I know some people like that. Maybe they thought he was kind of like this manic Joker type of guy, but I really wasn't feeling it last week. This week, he came out. He talked like Dean Ambrose, not like some hybrid New York, New Jerseyan from Cincinnati, Ohio. Last week, he was like, hey, Dolph, buddy boy. This week, he actually talked like Dean Ambrose and came out and said, I could come to the ring and fight both of you, but that might be a bad idea. But the more you keep running your mouth, the more I want to shove those big words down your throat. And so he was going to come down to the ring and unleash some hell until Dolph Ziggler came out. They got into a schmaz. Dolph Ziggler and Ambrose got taken out, and then that set up a tag match later in the show, which was Dolph Ziggler and Dean Ambrose taking on the Wyatt family. Well, the makeshift Wyatt family. The poor man's Wyatt family. Man, the Wyatts really need Luke Harper because Eric Rowan is not that great. Not that good either. And ironically, Eric Rowan got pinned here with the super kick. Dolph Ziggler pinned him 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring. Dean Ambrose, right before the finish, went for a tope on Mr. Wyatt, but looks like his leg caught the middle rope. He ended up flipping. It looked a little scary. His leg caught Bray Wyatt. Bray kind of sort of caught him. It looked like Dean was okay, but man, that was scary. Even the safest diver in I was going to say Dolph Ziggler, in Dean Ambrose, and Luke Harper for that matter, they do similar dives where they go through the middle ropes, but they usually land on their feet. Even the safest divers, they end up having to deal with some risks. I mean, it's wrestling, man. Stuff happens. So hopefully Dean's okay. Afterwards, Dolph Ziggler's patting Dean on the back, trying to celebrate, and Dean hit the dirty deeds and said, we ain't friends, buddy boy. We're wrestling at SummerSlam. And we actually have a bunch of matches set for SummerSlam now, and the card is subject to change, but we could go through that. But it's quite a few matches just a couple weeks away, less than a couple weeks away from SummerSlam. They used to announce all these matches ahead of time, and then in recent years, they got in the habit of just throwing matches together, announcing a main event, maybe announcing what would be considered a co-main event, and that's about it. But I'm happy that they're actually announcing and promoting some matches way ahead of time. Well done, WWE. As for the rest of the results, we had Randy Orton beat Alberto Del Rio via DQ. This was a really good match before Alberto went outside with Orton. Orton clotheslined him over the barricade, teased going for an RKO on the announcer's table, but Del Rio hit him with a steel chair a couple times, was going to take him out in the ring, and Orton hit an RKO out of nowhere, even though a lot of people saw it coming. I thought this match was really good, but a few things. It's hard to take Alberto Del Rio seriously when he has lost multiple times this year to Kalisto and Zack Ryder. Also, and this might be a minor nitpick, you're trying to promote Orton as a guy that can actually beat Brock Lesnar. A couple weeks ago, he was selling for Fandango. A week or two before that, he was selling for The Miz. Now, he had a long match with Alberto Del Rio, who is one of my personal favorites, who is a legit guy, but his character has been portrayed as anything but legit the last 6 months. A guy who lost to Zack Ryder was giving Randy Orton trouble. And you expect fans to believe that Randy Orton can beat Brock Lesnar. Now, you already have an uphill battle because it is Brock Lesnar who's been undefeated for 2.5 years in WWE. Well, actually, he did have that loss to Undertaker, but that doesn't really count because he got his win back a couple months later. So he's nearly been undefeated the last 2.5 years in WWE. And Orton's selling for Fandango and Miz and Del Rio. And I'm not saying he has to squash all those guys. I don't think the Intercontinental Champion should be squashed, but Fandango, he should have beaten him in like a minute. Alberto Del Rio, the guy hasn't really been promoted that well. If they want to put some steam behind him, put him in a match with somebody else. Put him in a match with Apollo Crews. You don't have to put him in a match with Randy Orton. You could have Orton in a squash match. Maybe have Heath Slater in his contract match instead of Rhino. Get Orton and Orton just squashes him. I think you should make Orton look like a killer going into SummerSlam. Not a guy that is selling for a bunch of mid-carders. That's all. That's all. It might not matter. I think they'll still have one hell of a match. But if it were me booking, I'd have Orton not wrestle every week. And if you need Orton to shake off that ring rust, do it in a post-show dark match or something. Don't do it here. Do it at the house shows. Have him just RKO people. Look like a badass. I like the video package they did on Monday with kind of like a real sports build with Brock saying they weren't really friends. He was just some guy he knew in camp, and Orton saying he was pissed off that Brock left WWE originally. Just do that. Do like a real sports build for this match. Orton, again, selling even for Del Rio, who's a legit guy in real life, wasn't really feeling that. But this was a good match and fun while it lasted. Becky Lynch took on Ava Marie, sort of. Last week, you'll recall, Ava strained her calf, allegedly, and when she was climbing the middle rope and then got off it. So she was about to wrestle Becky. She makes her elaborate entrance with her amazing physique. And what happens? Her top nearly comes off. She has a wardrobe malfunction, and she runs to the back. This match is called off. Becky flips out, says, "I want a match. I want to fight." So who should come out but Alexa Bliss on her birthday? It says, "Becky, you're going to get a fight." So it was Alexa Bliss and Becky Lynch. This was okay. I wouldn't say it was great, but it was okay. Alexa Bliss is decent in the ring by WWE NXT women's standards. She's pretty decent in the ring. I wouldn't say she's great or anything, but she's got a great look. She's got great poise. She's an awesome heel. Pretty good on the mic, and she got the win here when Ava Marie came out, and her announcer that does the elaborate entrance for her, that announces it, said, "Ava Marie can now compete." And poor Becky, who has got to be the dumbest babyface character in recent memory, turns around, just stares, then gets hit by Alexa Bliss. Alexa hits her, I forgot what the move is called. It used to be called the Sparkle Splash, whatever the Sparkle Splash is called now, where she goes off the top rope and then splashes Becky. I'll call it the Sparkle Splash. I think that's what it used to be called. Got the pin, and man, Becky Lynch. Okay, let's recap Becky Lynch's year in WWE on the main roster. She's part of the Submission Sorority, which later turns into Team PCB, which sounds like a drug, because the original name, Submission Sorority, was actually a group of some porn site based on research I've had my investigators conduct. Then, She's friends with Paige. Paige turns on her. Then she's friends with Charlotte. Charlotte turns on her. Then she's friends with Natalya. Natalya turns on her. And now, even though this got heat, and I think the Ava Marie character has been, I don't want to say brilliant, but pretty damn clever the last couple weeks, the fact that it has to be Becky taking the fall and looking like a dork, when in reality she's probably the best wrestler on the SmackDown roster right now in the women's division, and one of the better workers in general on that roster, and in any roster, it is kind of unfortunate to see. It really is. Ugh. Speaking of the women, we had Carmella come out and do a moonwalk in silence. She tried to do her little mic shtick and everything that kind of works in NXT, that worked more when she was with Enzo and Cass. Didn't really work here. No disrespect to Staten Island, okay? I'm not saying I dislike Staten Island as a New Jerseyan who makes his living on a regular basis in the great city of New York in Manhattan. But if Manhattan is Dean Ambrose and New Jersey is John Cena, then to most New Yorkers and New Jerseyans, Staten Island is like Heath Slater. And not in a good way. So she comes out, does this Princess of Staten Island shtick. Natalya attacks her from behind. They brawl. They finally have a match like they were supposed to have last week. And this was sloppy. Natalya tried to carry her. And Natalya went for a sharpshooter. I guess Carmella was supposed to kick Natalya away, but it was like a phantom kick. And then Natalya landed on her stomach. And we had the slowest transition to a submission move I think I've ever seen. And for those that don't know, I used to run a website as well in addition to this YouTube channel long before its YouTube channel. And in my early days, I covered a lot of amateur MMA. I covered a lot of regional MMA all over the tri-state area. I've seen a lot of bad MMA. I've seen a lot of bad submissions, including heavyweights. But that might be the slowest transition to a submission I've ever seen. Because you see Natalya landed on her stomach, and Carmella got her legs, did this neck vice thing. I guess like not even a triangle. It's just like a kind of like a neck grip, neck vice. I'm forgetting everybody's finisher these days. I'll get the exact name for people that are particular. But she locked in her little neck vice thing on Natalya. It seemed snugger than John Cena's STF at times. And at least John Cena has the big biceps. So at least you can somewhat believe when John Cena flexes that, somebody's going to tap out. And Natalya tapped out. Carmella got emotional because it's her SmackDown debut and her big win. And the Code of Silence. A modified figure 4 head scissors. That's the proper name according to Wikipedia. She got the Code of Silence. This was okay, I guess, but yeah, I don't know why they called up Carmella just to put her on SmackDown without Enzo and Cass. In my opinion, that's pretty lame. That's doing her a disservice because she does have charisma and she does have some athleticism and she does have a great look. But unless she's a heel, her doing this act solo, I don't think it's going to last very long at babyface. And yes, it is a sparkle splash, and then it became the Twisted Bliss. Okay, just to confirm, according to my sources at Wikipedia, for Alexa Bliss's finishing maneuver. Also, I think it would have been maybe more effective for the second women's match rather than beat Natalya outright or Natalya to beat Carmella. Why not do a tag match? Maybe have like Naomi on one side with Natalya and then have Carmella team up with, I don't even know who else is on the SmackDown roster, whomever. Yeah, it's bad when I can't remember more than 4 women on the SmackDown roster, or 5 women. But yeah, they should do a little bit more to showcase them. Although this is okay, I guess. Heath Slater lost to Rhino. Backstage before the match, he said he had 2 kids, then 4 kids, and just built a pool for the kids, and he really needs his win. And if Rhino could just do him a favor and, lose. Rhino said, hey, I just won my Michigan primary, which is true. He did. And I have constituents that rely on me. And it's just so weird. I mean, Rhino, he seems like a smart guy. I'm Facebook friends with him. Seems like a really nice guy, but just so weird. It's like he's running for office. He could be elected to office, and he's on the SmackDown roster. I'm sure he knows his stuff. I'm sure he's done his research in Dearborn, Michigan, where I actually have a number of friends. But it's just weird. What a weird year for politics, right? Just weird. And I thought Hulk Hogan trying to run for president in WCW in '99 was weird, or Jesse the Body Ventura becoming governor was weird. Just been a weird year, kids. Been a very weird year, at least in the States. At least in the States. We had American Alpha defeat a couple local competitors. These local job guys who unfortunately were victims to a number of vicious suplexes from Jason Jordan and Chad Gable. And afterwards, the entire SmackDown tag team division, which is pretty pathetic. It was the Usos, who have some credibility, the Hype Bros, and the Ascension came out and confronted these guys. Oh, yeah, and the Vaudevillains. And Team Alpha ended up taking all of them out, stood tall, and I just thought, damn. You got American Alpha. You got a longtime great tag team in the Usos. And then you have the Hype Bros, the Ascension, who I don't think have won a match in maybe 2 years, and the Vaudevillains. Jesus Christmas. Oof. Oof. And let's see here. Did I miss anything else? Oh, we had a video package for Apollo Crews. Renee Young was trying to interview Miz and Maurice about Apollo Crews, but instead they ended up climbing on top of Renee's desk, posing like this, and kissing each other. It was hilarious. I love the Miz and Maurice act. I hope it goes on forever. That being said, Miz does not need the Intercontinental Championship. Give it to Apollo Crews. And we had a video package for John Cena and AJ Styles. And as I've mentioned on the show before, I was live for a pay-per-view quality match. Dare I say a SummerSlam level match between AJ and Cena at MSG a few weeks back. It was incredible. They went nearly 40 minutes. Cena got the win, for those that were wondering. And if their match at SummerSlam is anything like what I had to see at MSG, my God, you guys are in for a treat. SummerSlam's gonna be lit. So that was SmackDown. Overall, I'd say a decent show. Not great, but not bad either. I'd say it was a step up from last week. Oh, and we had Baron Corbin bully Kalisto backstage, because Kalisto's small and Baron Corbin's big. And for those asking, Robert Mays, Fred, which was better this week, Raw or SmackDown? SmackDown for sure. SmackDown for sure. And, oh yeah, there was a Scooby-Doo skit I missed because I went to get ice cream and I overheard somebody saying something about Scooby-Doo. I didn't really care because I just didn't care. I love Scooby-Doo, but I just don't really care for this film. Okay, so let me quickly go over the Raw results and give you guys some of my thoughts. Give you guys a little bit of my thoughts on the Dean Ambrose podcast with Steve Austin. That was, I don't want to say disastrous, but a little awkward. And then we'll take some questions. Sound good? All right. So we had Chris Jericho beat Enzo Amore via DQ. By the way, this is the Raw results for last night, August 8th, 2016. Chris Jericho beat Enzo Amore via DQ. This was set up when Enzo and Big Cass came out to diss Jericho because he, how do I say this in a PG way, broke the guy code and intercepted Enzo's pitch to Sasha Banks last week. And he was talking about how Sasha was smitten. Big Cass was saying, yeah. And then Jericho came out, called them stupid idiots, said he has somebody that watches his back. It was Kevin Owens. They had a really funny dynamic together. Chris Jericho says, Kevin Owens will watch my back no matter what. Right, Kevin? And Kevin just paused. And he's like, right, Kevin? And he's like, yeah, sure, Chris. And Kevin Owens said, I don't like you. We're going to kick your ass. They made some dated reference that went over my head and probably most viewers' heads. And then Big Cass challenged Jericho and said, why don't you do something about it? Let's finish this tonight. So Jericho said, you're on. And points to Enzo. And Big Cass goes, you were looking right at me. And Jericho said, you're on. It was pretty funny, but it went way too long. Enzo's material, Big Cass's material this week, not so great. They got the big pop. Good opening promo, as far as, the usual certified G, bona fide stud. but it just went so long, and it just bothered me to see Kevin Owens, a guy who should be a pay-per-view main eventer by now, a guy who beat John Cena last year, doing stupid comedy. It's okay if Enzo and Cass have a few barbs here and there, but at least with the club feud, there was a tone of seriousness here and there. Not in this program. And Jericho, complete comedy. He's great. I thought Jericho actually outshined Enzo on the mic this week. But, I don't know. I think Jericho could be used in a more effective way than in this comedy role. But you know what? He might be on his way out. He might be taking a sabbatical like he always does with WWE. And if he does, I think he'll be missed because he's really kind of found himself again with this heel character. And I think he should be heel forever and call people stupid idiots. And Kevin Owens, yeah, he deserves a bigger spot. But yeah, this ended in a DQ. And they challenged Jericho and Owens to a match at SummerSlam. And yeah, we got Owens and Jericho versus Enzo and Cass. Here's what annoys me. Sami Zayn had a match of the year candidate with Kevin Owens. The match was beautiful. A little rough around the edges, but the story, the ending, everything, it was a work of art. It was a work of art. It was a work of art in the form of violence and pro wrestling. It was great. So what does Sami Zayn get in return for putting on a great match and in storyline pinning Kevin Owens clean in the middle of the ring? A preliminary match on Main Event or Superstars or whatever the hell they're taping before Raw, and no SummerSlam match whatsoever. Why is Sami Zayn not challenging Rusev for the United States Championship? Why is Roman Reigns, who is 1-3 the last 2 months, challenging Rusev for the U.S. title at SummerSlam? I mean, I guess it raises the value because Reigns has been pushed as a top guy, but Sami Zayn just won an epic match with Kevin Owens. He had a competitive match for the number one contender to the Universal title, Seth Rollins. Yet, he has no SummerSlam match. No disrespect to Enzo Amore, who's great on the mic, but not so great in the ring. Enzo and Big Cass have a SummerSlam match, and I think rightfully so, because it's in Brooklyn, their neck of the woods. But Sami Zayn doesn't? The Miz has a SummerSlam match on the main card, but Sami Zayn doesn't. Now, it's a 4-hour show. I guess they could add one more match, maybe a Battle Royal. But I think it's inexcusable. My Middle Eastern brother from another mother deserves better than this. That's all I got to say about that. We had Braun Strowman squash a geek. Braun actually got a bit of a reaction this week in Anaheim, California. So, shocker. People like watching big dudes kick ass. Just keep him in squash matches forever. I don't need to see him in long matches. He's not very good, but him squashing some geeks, it's okay, I guess. Darren Young beat Titus O'Neil using the tights. Bob Backlund was distracted and didn't see his protege cheating to win. This match was horrible. And all I can think to myself is, Titus O'Neil and Darren Young have been on the main roster for 6 years. God bless these two dudes. They seem like really nice guys. But they are not great in the ring. And Darren Young, Darren Young doesn't have the excuse of being a big guy like Titus, or who at least you could say with Titus, he's older. He got into wrestling later in his career. He's a big guy. Big guys aren't always really coordinated. But what's Darren Young's excuse? He's working with Bob Backlund. In storyline, he should be better. Ugh. What was the point of Darren Young kicking Miz's ass again at Battleground? I don't really know. Cesaro beat Sheamus in a really good match. Rolled him up for a pin. It was awesome. We had Seth Rollins address Finn Balor in a promo that went way too long. And it immediately reminded me why we all got sick of Seth Rollins last year. Even though this guy is one of the best wrestlers in the world, maybe the best wrestler in the company, a guy who can do amazing things in the ring, he wore out his welcome for a few reasons. One, he kept losing and losing and losing and losing and losing. It was just stupid. Nobody likes a loser. Number 2, they had him every single week on Raw and SmackDown cut these long, boring promos that were the same damn thing over and over again. Let's refresh our memory and remember what he used to say. I'm the man. I beat John Cena. I beat insert babyface here. I am the face of the authority. And blah 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 blah. Ha 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 ha. Another laugh. Ha 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 ha. A few more insults and extended by 15 minutes. And he came out here and just made fun of Finn's name. Said it's not even his real name. Said Finn means demon, or his name means Demon King or something. And said he's gonna beat the demon at SummerSlam. And it was more awkward than a Dolph Ziggler comedy routine. It was just brutal. Ugh. And actually, to be fair to Dolph, I think Dolph's comedy routine might actually be pretty good, but I just haven't seen it. But Seth Rollins, this was not his best. We had a video package later on of Finn Balor sitting on some throne. It was like a video package straight out of Game of Thrones if he teleported in like a suit, and he was just talking about his background and talking about the people that fought for Ireland and this lore behind the Finn Balor name, and they showed pictures and maps of the areas conquered, and then he said, "You want the demon, you're gonna get the demon," and said that, we all have our demons, but you haven't seen mine, and then he quickly turned into a demon in a cutaway. This is pretty good, but I have the feeling WWE has, at least Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn, don't have a lot of faith in him on the microphone, and I don't know. That might not bode well for him. I think he should win at SummerSlam, especially if he's the demon. Seth is calling out the demon on Raw, but for the love of God, I hope Finn doesn't do the full entrance. I hope he just kind of scares Seth. That's it, and then you do the SummerSlam match. If Finn Balor, with that kick-ass entrance in his first pay-per-view match ever on the main roster, does the epic entrance with the gigantic pop that he's probably going to get at Brooklyn in front of all these fans that have watched NXT, if he goes in there and he loses, Jesus Christmas, what a waste. If this was the Seth Rollins a couple months ago that should have came back as the strong babyface, I'd say, okay, you know what? It makes sense for Seth Rollins to win. If Seth had a ton of momentum, didn't just lose 2 straight matches to Dean Ambrose, I'd say, you know what? Yeah, Seth Rollins should probably win. But Seth has no momentum going into this match. Finn pinned Rusev, pinned Roman Reigns. He's a new guy to a lot of people. You got to make an impact. He can always lose the next month if he flops. He can always lose another day if you get cold feet. But at SummerSlam, he's got to win. Hopefully, they'll make the right decision. Also, AJ Styles really has to win at SummerSlam, especially if he's going to challenge Dean Ambrose or maybe Dolph Ziggler, who pinned him down the road. Roman Reigns crashed the wedding party for Rusev and Lana, and he pushed Rusev. Rusev knocked Lana into the cake. She took a great cake bump, and Rusev freaked out. Roman Reigns smiled. This went on way too long. Rusev was awesome on the mic. Roman Reigns was okay, saying, "Hey, man, you need a best man," and he was trying to do this comedy. Oh, man, he's just a better douchebag than he is a babyface. He really is. Especially when he tweeted Conor McGregor, "Oh, you're bigger than my leg," or "You're the size of my leg." Dude, Conor McGregor would whoop your ass. Most MMA fighters would whoop your ass. Just a news flash for people. Some people are asking about Conor McGregor. Most competent MMA fighters that are on a professional level in the UFC, and I'd say even in Bellator, would whoop the ass. That ass. They would whoop that ass of almost every person in the WWE locker room. Maybe not Brock Lesnar, because he has an MMA background, and of course he just beat Mark Hunt, although he might be off certain things he was allegedly taking. Maybe Nakamura, who's a real MMA fighter at one point in time, could give him some trouble. Maybe Alberto Del Rio, who was also a fighter, although he fought a lot of bums besides Mirko Cro Cop, who knocked him out. Hey, no shame in losing to Mirko Cro Cop, I'm just saying. But let's be real here, okay? Size doesn't mean anything. And to me, it's just that stupid mentality that some people have in WWE. I don't know if it's stupid, just outdated mentality. The top draws on pay-per-view are a 145-pound man, who may not be the top draw anymore if he loses to Nate Diaz again. It was a 135-pound woman in Ronda Rousey, who may not come back. Previously, it was a 185-pound man named Anderson Silva and a 170-pound man named GSP. And a few years before that, there was a top draw at lightweight at 155 pounds named BJ Penn. Oh, there's also some dudes that fought at around like 150-something pounds. I don't know if you ever heard of them. Their names are Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. And you know, there's actually some big stars in boxing right now that are around that weight, you know, by the name of Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin. So this whole thing about size and just stop. Conor was trying to work him. Some people got riled up. I don't even necessarily mind wrestlers getting riled up, but just come up with better insults than, oh, you're small. Okay? Demetrius Johnson is smaller than everybody, and I guarantee you he could go to any locker room and kick the hell out of anybody, and there's nothing anybody could do about it. Unless they have like a barbed wire baseball bat or something. So, anyway, just wanted to say that because I saw a question about Mr. McGregor there. Neville and Sin Cara beat the Dudley Boys. Sasha Banks beat Dana Brooke, which leads to Dana Brooke being banned from ringside in Sasha's match with Charlotte at SummerSlam. This match sucked. Dana Brooke and Charlotte mistimed a spot where they were supposed to. Here's what's supposed to happen. And I retweeted a gif of this from Matthew of Botchamania. Charlotte at ringside was supposed to slap Sasha, and Sasha was supposed to move out of the way, and Dana was supposed to get hit with the slap. But it just was mistimed. So Sasha moved out of the way. Charlotte was like, wait, I have to slap Dana. Dana was like, wait, I got to get slapped. It was horrible. And then Sasha goes for that wacky move she does where she puts her opponent on the middle rope. She bounces off the top rope and stomps him, right? Kind of like that, you know, sort of like the Alberto Del Rio move he did where somebody was holding onto the ropes, or you don't really have to hold onto the ropes. It just looked stupid. So you could clearly see Dana Brooke holding onto her ropes, trying to maintain position so Sasha Banks, in storyline, in the WWE universe, can hurt her. And she did the double foot stomp. It looked horrible. Dana crashed and burned. Sasha got the pin. All I can say is this. At least Dana Brooke got her own entrance this week. But, my God. For a girl that they invested so much time and money into in NXT, with the video packages and the presentation and everything, they have done this poor girl no favors. Now, she is not good in the ring. At all. At all. But she's a pretty girl. She's got a good physique. She's proven on the mic she could at least be decent. And she's been brought in essentially as this faceless apprentice to Charlotte, gotten virtually no mic time. Her wardrobe in the last few weeks has varied from kind of hot to what the hell is she wearing, and her matches have not been very good. She's been put out there for 10 minutes, 15 minutes at a time on live television? Like, come on now. Just, I don't understand what the thought process is. Maybe they've already soured on her. It's kind of unfortunate. I mean, this girl was in NXT for years. She busted her ass. Yeah, she has her weaknesses, but she had her strengths too. She still does, but they haven't emphasized them. I think they just need to take her off TV, put her back in NXT for a little bit, let her get the stink of this Charlotte storyline off her, and then do a fresh start. Reboot her, bring her back properly with video packages and everything else. Maybe you want to bring her back on SmackDown, so that way, you know, the stench of Raw is not there. She can work with different girls. Maybe Bayley ends up getting called up on SmackDown, and she can work with Natalya and Becky Lynch and people that can carry her. And it's only a 2-hour show, so you don't have to fill as much time. I don't know, but yeah, I felt bad for this girl because she did not look good that night. Then again, Sasha didn't either, but I would imagine it was probably the quality of opposition. Okay, we had Luke Gallows beat Kofi Kingston. This was after a comedy skit where Gallows and Anderson said that Big E was suffering from ring postitis because they pulled Big E's legs and pulled him crotch first into the ring post last week, and apparently he suffered a contusion. So Big E is now off of the SummerSlam card, meaning it's only Xavier and Kofi against the club at SummerSlam. So multiple kicks to the head do not put a guy out for any length of time. But pulling a guy balls first into a steel pole keeps him out for weeks at a time? And I was just bothered because, look, the club, they're naturally funny guys. Anybody that's ever listened to their podcast back in the day, funny-ass dudes. Even the Jericho podcast that they did in Hawaii was excellent. But the Bullet Club now being the comedy club, I'm not feeling that. Not feeling that at all, but it is what it is. And then we had Daniel Bryan come out to meet with Mick Foley to discuss the problems that the brands have been having because Brock Lesnar invaded SmackDown, Randy Orton invaded Raw. They want to try to come to some type of peace treaty here. And then Rusev just comes out, says Mick Foley disrespected him, and then Cesaro comes out and says, hey, he earned his title shot. They book a U.S. title match on the fly at 10:55 p.m. This died a death in the ratings, by the way. I think this is the lowest non-holiday Raw in history outside of one from last November. But it did go up against the Olympics, which averaged like 29, 30 million viewers. And I believe it was still the highest rated show on cable, which is not really saying much, but they were number one, right? So this was a pretty good match while it lasted. Crowd was going nuts for Cesaro. And what did they do? They have Sheamus come out to distract Cesaro because in their match, I forgot to mention, they had a false finish where the ref got knocked down. Sheamus rolled up Cesaro. Ref didn't see it. So Sheamus distracted Cesaro. Cesaro took him out, almost pinned Rusev. Sheamus interfered again. And then Rusev kicked him, pinned him, and that was that. Ugh. Would it really kill y'all to just throw Cesaro and his fans a bone? I know Rusev's a great heel. I don't think he should necessarily lose the U.S. title, but you booked the match. The time was right. The feeling was in the air. Cesaro could always lose at SummerSlam. Oh, well, Fred, they booked Roman Reigns versus Rusev. Yeah, and I think they're actually going to do a four-way now by adding Sheamus and Cesaro. But why not just throw fans a bone? Give them a title win. I don't like hot-shotting titles, but you know what? It's the U.S. title. Come on, man. Come on, man. Cut him some slack. Nope. Instead, he lost. Rusev did the slowest motion walk of all time. Deer in the headlights was like, huh? And then Roman Reigns gave him a wicked spear on the floor. And we ended Raw, yes, with Roman Reigns standing tall. Because they'll never learn. So, yeah. Thumbs down for Raw. I'd say thumbs up for SmackDown. So, folks, I'm going to get to some of your questions and tweets in just a second. But before we do, check out this quick clip from my interview with AJ Styles back in 2013. A reminder, if you are a subscriber, feel free to go to our playlist section. Check out all our interviews with MMA fighters, WWE superstars, you name it. We got it all. So check out this quick clip, and we'll be right back to take your questions. The calf killer. That's an awesome finishing move. That's the kind of like the calf slicer that Charles Oliveira pulled out in UFC. When did you discover that move and start making it part of your arsenal?
Well, I collegiate wrestled in high school, and there's moves that are very similar to jiu-jitsu, but used in very different ways. But my brothers took to Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I took a little bit of myself and messed around. They showed me this little move called it was, like you said, a calf killer, and then they actually call it the calf cutter. And it's a excruciating pain. If you've ever been in one before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I've always wanted a submission. It's just trying to find the right one. And this one no one ever seen before, and it worked out perfect for me. I mean, if you've ever been in it before, it's legit.
That definitely is. I've rolled a couple times, and yeah, things haven't always gone my way. Are you an MMA fan at all?
Sure am. I think any man out there has got to be an MMA fan. I believe if MMA would have been as popular as it was when I came out of high school and college, that would have definitely been the route that I would have went.
And we are back. Hope you enjoyed that quick clip. If you want to check out that interview, I'll post the link in the description in the comments. And you can also browse through our interview section. Speaking of interviews, I just interviewed UFC Hall of Famer and former WWE superstar, former NWA champion, Dan the Beast Severed, if you guys want to check that out. And also just a quick plug on my other channel, youtube.com/TSC Gaming. I just posted a video going through the entire WWE Championship title change history in SummerSlam. So I look back at all 8 title changes that have taken place in the near 30-year history of SummerSlam via WWE 2K. It's a cool little feature. I think you guys will like it, but let's get to the questions here. Why is Scott not on the show? Well, Scott actually has bronchitis, which sucks for him. So I hope Scott feels better. Is Shelton Benjamin injured? Yes, Shelton Benjamin confirmed online that he needs shoulder surgery, and his return is delayed. I don't think his deal is pulled, but it's going to be a while before we see old Shelton, which is quite unfortunate. Fred, what are your thoughts on the Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano match from the Cruiserweight Classic last week? Oh, my God, I loved it. Just told a great story. It was a war, 2 tag team partners, 2 best friends that didn't want to hold back. And Tommaso Ciampa's strikes looked so realistic. They sounded great. Johnny Gargano's selling was incredible in this match. Tons of near falls. I thought this was a match of the year candidate. This was great. It was just great. I got nothing bad to say about this match. These guys worked their asses off. I almost wish that they built this up to the tournament final. It was that good. I mean, it set the bar so high for the rest of the matches, but man, just tremendous stuff. Got nothing bad to say. You know, Johnny Gargano, I remember a few years ago I saw him, years and years ago I saw him at Evolve. I thought it was pretty good. I had a few friends who were like, this guy's not that good, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I think he's all right. And here we are 6 years later after I saw him in Evolve, and this dude is just, he's awesome, man. He really is. And Ciampa as well. And I'm just thinking to myself, how did ROH not see anything in Ciampa to keep him? I mean, what the hell, man? He's good. Both these guys are really good. They're glorious bombs, those vines that they're doing on Twitter and everything, where they play Bobby Roode's epic new theme song from NXT and then photobomb him, whether he's going to the bathroom or sleeping or working out. I think it's great. I love it. It's become like a new internet meme. It's awesome. So props to both guys. Jack Gallagher was awesome. This Brit does the Simon Gotch gimmick way better than Simon Gotch. Listen, get rid of the vaudevillains. I'm not advocating them losing their jobs, but whatever. Shaft them, put them somewhere else, put them in dark matches. Call up this guy. He is awesome. Jack Gallagher and Fabian Eichner, the student of Alex Wright. Those guys had one hell of a match. All I got to say is if you haven't watched the Cruiserweight Classic, watch it, especially this last episode. It was just a great, great, great professional wrestling show. The Noam Dar match, not so much, but the other 2 matches were pretty good. I got to say this, too. I have a good friend of mine who is also a podcaster for another website who is very tight with a trainer, a former pro wrestler who is now a trainer and somebody that's actually trained a lot of the talent that you now see in WWE. Not going to name names because then you'll end up linking that person. But my friend told me that he got a text from this trainer who did not have good things to say about Drew Gulak and Zack Sabre Jr. And I'm talking about this because I see some comments about Zack Sabre Jr. here on my live feed. This person said that they were not impressed with Zack Sabre Jr., not because of his physique, and Zack Sabre Jr. is not very built, but he's a great technical wrestler. I mean, you don't win Best Technical Wrestler 2 years in a row if you're a slouch, that's for sure. I mean, that's Bryan Danielson territory there. But this person felt that Zach was a little too show-offish in his match with Tyson Dukes. In other words, Like when people complain, when veterans complain about guys getting their crap in and worrying about their spots as opposed to telling a story or whatnot. This trainer, who's a very credible trainer, felt that Zack Sabre Jr. and Drew Gulak, to a lesser extent, were doing that in their matches, albeit with submissions. To say, hey, look, we know this cool move. We know this cool move. Almost to the point where they made the pro wrestling match kind of seem like an exhibition, like a showcase, rather than something they're actually competing for. A win to advance and get money and accolades, a WWE contract, whatever. It was very interesting because, I heard online and I heard from people I know in the business, oh man, Zack Sabre Jr., I didn't know he was that skinny. And, the physique didn't bother me that much because it is a cruiserweight tournament, even though Zack is pretty skinny even by cruiserweight standards. But, yeah, that was interesting to me. And with Drew Gulak, same thing. I think with Gulak, it was more the fact that he was wrestling a guy that was a lot smaller than him. And he's trying to do submission counters. And also, I think it was just awkward to have two technical guys back-to-back. Sabre Jr. had his match, and Drew Gulak had his match a couple weeks ago. They're actually going to be wrestling in the semifinals now, or in the next round, I should say. But, yeah, interesting to hear that. Zack Sabre Jr. doesn't look like he's going to be signing with WWE. I've heard that he wants to do indies and he has other things he wants to accomplish. I think the translation is WWE, at least some people in WWE, weren't too impressed, which is unfortunate because he's a great technical wrestler. He really is. But, yeah, I don't think he made the best first impression. And far be it from me to give anybody tips on their physique. But as somebody that is skinny myself, who does work out on a semi-regular basis, and who does have very fast metabolism, and I'd like to assume Zack Sabre Jr. probably has some fast metabolism, would it hurt to kind of, go on a little bit more of a harder regimen? I'm not saying you got to, take anything and put anything in your body or anything like that, but just, maybe, get a little more cut, that's all. And who knows? Maybe he'll take a little break after this from the national spotlight as far as WWE goes. Maybe he'll be brought in for spots here and there, and he'll bulk up a little bit. He'll get another opportunity, maybe on like some random NXT show or a house show or something, and he'll have a better showcase, and he'll get a contract. And I think he definitely belongs there. I think he definitely deserves to be there. He's getting booked a lot. Who knows? Maybe he's making more in the indies now than whatever WWE may have allegedly offered him. But I would like to see him in the WWE banner. But there's also something to be said for having too much talent to the point where you don't know what to do with them. And we've seen on Raw, to a lesser extent on SmackDown, there's still some creative issues when it comes to mid-carders, right? There's 50-50 booking. 1 week a guy loses, next week a guy wins, etc., etc. And you know what? It might be better for Zack right now to stay out of WWE, keep building his name on the indies, have kick-ass matches, eventually get another shot, and who knows? Maybe by that point, he'll get even more money because there are rumors now that Roderick Strong may be NXT bound by September, and if that's the case, well, there's going to be no shortage of great workers in WWE, although they are going to be spread out amongst 3 brands. Okay. Fred, did you see the new belts for Raw and SmackDown, blue and red? Are those legit? I think I saw a tweet about like the blue belt and red belt that was in reference to the WWE Championship. I don't think that's accurate. No, I don't. But you know what? Let me take a look anyway. I think Scott's going to tweet me a pic, so I'll take a look. But I think I know which one you're talking about, and I don't think it's real. Could be wrong, though. I've been wrong before. Fred. Oh, this one. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. I don't know. He was talking about this one. There was the one where it's just like the current WWE title that was circulating that's blue. Let me actually, you know what I'll do? I'm actually going to save this, and I'm going to put it on screen for all of y'all to look at. And who knows? Maybe it's real. Maybe it's not. But, we'll have some fun with it anyway. Fred, do you think American Alpha will be the first SmackDown Tag Team Champions? Yeah, I do. And they should be rightfully so. Okay, here we go. This picture isn't exactly high res, so. All right, yeah, let's take a look at this. I kind of like it because it's literally an updated version of the Winged Eagle belt from the late 80s to the late 90s, and I think that's probably the best belt WWE's ever had. Only thing is, I would probably have less W's. I think there's a little too many W's. There's a W here. There's a W in the middle. There's a W on every plate. That's a little excessive to me. But the design overall, I like. I do like. I would like to maybe have like the world, like the globe, colored in a little bit. But yeah, it's not bad. Not bad. Throwing it back. I like it. I like it. Hopefully that's the real belt. I can't imagine what the real Universal belt is if that's not the Universal one. Okay. What are your thoughts on Bray Wyatt's gimmick? Do you think he is ripping off Broken Matt Hardy? I think he's just taking some fun shots at him and trying to set up some interpromotional thing where Matt Hardy, when he eventually becomes a free agent again, maybe does something with the Wyatt family. I think they're just having fun with the broken streak and everything. Jeremy Bowers, I will never understand WWE's mindset of here's this person, they were on NXT. Watch that if you watch developmental. Yeah, why not actually build up a person, right? And show video packages. Even Finn Balor. As much as I love the introduction with him getting the big win and everything, I mean, they probably should have built him up for a few weeks. Ethan Don says the term out of nowhere means nothing now. Yes. I would put the revival on SmackDown after SummerSlam. I would too, JB. SSR 1680 says AJ definitely needs a win at SummerSlam. I agree. Scott says AJ and Cena are both overseas. Oh, that's why they were on the show tonight. Thank you. Yeah, yeah, that's right. I read that they were going to like New Zealand or something. Okay. What do you think about Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz? Ooh, that's a very good question. Well, I think I am going to order the pay-per-view. I think I'm going to have to watch NXT on demand, although I will probably have NXT on my phone or on my laptop while watching the pay-per-view on my TV. I think it's going to be a hell of a fight, but I look at it this way. While Conor did win round 1 last time, Nate Diaz survived, weathered the storm, and kicked the hell out of Conor in the second round and choked him out. I think Nate's a guy that can take a shot. I think Nate's a guy that can last 5 rounds. He's a Diaz brother. For those that don't know about the Diaz brothers, they don't get tired. Now, Nate's been finished once. He was finished by Josh Thompson a couple years ago, head kick TKO. I think most people have forgotten that. But since then, even though his last 10 fights going into the first Conor fight was 5-5, it was pretty hard to put Nate away. He's an extremely tough guy to put away. Conor, I think he's going to try to swarm him. He's obviously going to try to keep the fight standing, but Nate, while 170 is not his natural weight in terms of the weight he's had the most success in, it is a weight that he's fought on multiple times, and I just think it's going to go down like the last fight. Maybe it'll last longer. Maybe it'll be a little shorter, but I got Nate winning this one, man. I mean, Conor did win round 1. I'll give him that. And he could definitely win this fight. But I got Nate. And 2 straight losses for the featherweight champion of the world. Not good. Not good. And that Conor McGregor gimmick, it's a great gimmick. But it works a hell of a lot better when you're winning, not losing. And if he loses to Nate, and then in a few months has to fight a rejuvenated Jose Aldo, who, knock on wood, can get past the 13-second mark, it's going to be a bad year for Conor. On top of him overplaying his hand and missing out on a gigantic UFC 200 payday, on top of pissing off the entire WWE locker room, although I think he was trying to work an angle down the road for WWE, which ain't going to happen if he loses to Nate Diaz. So, yeah, it could be a very, very bad year for Conor. He'll still get paid. As far as being the highest paid fighter in the UFC today and in recent history, yeah, I don't think it's going to work out so well if he loses again. What do you think about Sheamus versus Cesaro and a loser leaves Raw match? Michael Play says, well, Cesaro did hint in real life and in storyline that he wasn't the happiest with being drafted low and being on Raw. He did kind of suck up to Daniel Bryan, or Daniel Bryan did suck up to him on Raw. I like it, actually. I dig it. And even though I'd hate to see Cesaro lose, and technically SmackDown would be getting the loser, Cesaro on SmackDown would be tremendous. Yes, let's do it. For once, I'll actually root for Sheamus to win. For once. What do you think about the SummerSlam card? I think it looks pretty good. I think it looks a hell of a lot better than WrestleMania. That's for sure. Terry Allen Jr. Did you check out the second week of the roster reveal for WWE 2K17? Yeah, no real surprises there. Nothing crazy. I mean, you got your Baron Corbins, your Eric Rowan, John Cena, McMahon's. It's expected. I think as far as improvement goes, I think WWE 2K16 was a big step up from 2K15. But I would like to see maybe, a little more refined things, a little bit better graphics, a little bit better mechanics, not as clunky of a submission system. Hopefully a new aspect of my career mode, something that's a little bit different from what they had last year. Maybe a little bit more of like a showcase, since Brock Lesnar is a cover star, Goldberg's the pre-order star. Maybe having something incorporating their story and everything like that. I also would like them to step up their DLC. I'm not a big fan of first day DLC, downloadable content, because why can't you just include it in the game? I'll have to pay extra for it the day of. But as much as I hated 2K15, and it was buggy as hell on both platforms that I had it on PS4 and I had it on 360. I'll say this. The DLC packs they came out with after you buy the season pass or if you buy them individually were pretty damn good. They had one where you could play through Mark Henry's world title run. They had one where you could play through Randy Orton and Christian's world title feud, which was pretty entertaining. They had some pretty good stuff, and I kind of hope that they do that. I hope their DLC is not just limited to a few extra characters. I mean, there's community creations. You can just download and upload user-generated characters. Okay, maybe you won't get the official Shinsuke Nakamura character, but really, do you have to pay $100 for the version of WWE 2K17 just to get Nakamura and Apollo Crews? I mean, okay, you get a painting from Rob Schamberger, you get a figurine. Wow. I mean, look, it's limited edition. If you're a collector, I guess it's cool, but if that's the only way that you can get Nakamura, the official Nakamura character, that's uber lame. Based on my experience with 2K, I'm guessing, I'm making an educated guess that they're going to have these pieces of DLC available after the fact, maybe after launch, a month or two down the road. But roster-wise, it's all right. I'm sure the roster will be huge like it was this past year. I kind of want to see refinement. I'd like to see more than 4 guys in a ring, or I'm sorry, more than like 6 guys in a ring. I'd like to see managers be able to accompany people in certain match types. I'd like to see more refinement with things like special referee. I'd like to. I'm trying to think. I'd love to see backstage brawls, which we haven't gotten in a lot of WWE games. It's kind of more of like an open world environment. I think that would be great. Just certain things like that. I'd like to see commentary be a lot better. I'd like to see us having multiple commentary tracks. You have God knows how many commentators on the payroll. You can't have them record different voice tracks and everything. Just change it up a little bit. JBL didn't even sound like JBL in the freaking video game. Oh, what a great match. He didn't even sound like John Layfield. He sounded like a sedated John Layfield. Also, speaking of the commentary, Raw commentary pretty good. SmackDown still awkward. David Otunga swagger jacking DJ Khaled saying, "Yeah, major key. Shut up. You're not DJ Khaled. You're Jennifer Hudson's husband. Be David Otunga." Yeah, major key. Stop. You ain't DJ Khaled, and this ain't Snapchat, all right? JBL, he made some dated references. He called one of the jobbers against Jordan and Gable King Kong Bundy's father to no reaction whatsoever. And then Morrow. Even though Morrow is a damn good announcer, he used way too many analogies again, and just some that were so awkward. I can't even remember them. They were just kind of dumb. Like, enough. I talked about before about how some veteran felt that Zack Sabre Jr. was getting his ish in too much in these matches, or at least in the match with Tyson Dukes, and kind of felt that way with Morrow in this broadcast. It's like, okay, I get it. Okay, this reference is clever. This is clever. Suicide Squad reference. Okay, that's topical. But he just overdid it to the point where it's just like, all right, dude, we get it. We get it. Pop culture. We get it. Right? We get it. You read TMZ. All right, we get it. Cool. All right. Call the match. Anyway. That's saying something when I have more complaints about Morrow than I do about Michael Cole. But hey, man, nothing against his credentials. He's got great credentials. But I'm just calling it like I see it. Calling it like I see it. All right. What do you think about CM Punk's UFC debut? If it actually happens next month in Cleveland against Mickey Gall, I don't think it's going to go well for CM Punk. But I'll say this: I give him all the props in the world for fighting, especially with all the setbacks that he had, all the injuries that he's had in training camp, on top of the injuries that he had in pro wrestling. Look, if this ends up going through, even if it doesn't, the fact that he's been training his ass off, much respect to him. He might be a nice guy. He might be a miserable prick, as a lot of people think he is. But the bottom line is, he's stepping up. He's doing it. I don't know if this appearance, this fight, is going to mean much to the casual fan and get them to buy this fight. It'd be great for him. It'd be great for the UFC. It'd be great for MMA. But he's been gone now for, what, 2.5 years now from WWE? He hasn't really been in the spotlight since then. He kind of, he did the whole signing with the UFC and the press tour and everything else, and Fox just produced a documentary that they showed footage of, and it looks great, but I don't know what he's going to mean for business. Also, the fact is he's not talking trash. When Brock Lesnar was coming in, not only did Brock Lesnar have a legit rep as a guy that nearly made an NFL team, former NCAA champion, big-ass dude, but he also talked a lot of junk. And CM Punk, while he's one of the greatest promo guys ever in the history of pro wrestling, he really hasn't cut any promos for this fight. There's no animosity. Maybe it's the realization of, oh crap, I'm actually fighting, and maybe I should focus on training, and I should just hope for good karma. I don't know, but the CM Punk that UFC signed, that's supposed to be great on the mic, thus far I haven't seen him. He's missing. I have not seen him. Maybe he'll show up in that documentary, but I haven't seen him. I think they might get a bump due to curiosity, but I don't know. At the moment, look, we're a month away. We got Conor Mania going on here. I don't feel any real buzz. By the time we get to September, who knows? I hope he does well. At the very least, I hope he makes some money and does his thing. And he is living one of his dreams, one of his goals. So I hope it works out for him. Okay. Just Dan Foster said, just got home. How's SmackDown? It was pretty good. I'd say it was definitely better than Raw. And Dan Foster mentioned that he's having some issues. Said he had some ligament issues in his knee. All I want to say is, Dan Foster, you're one of our loyal supporters, man. Always watching our shows live. I know we're in different time zones and everything like that, but I just want to say shout out to Dan Foster. Hope you feel better, buddy. Sorry to hear you're going through some stuff. For anybody else that's going through some stuff, I hope we can give you just a little bit of entertainment, a little break from this pain in the ass sometimes called real life. So thank you very much, Dan, and anybody else that's supporting us here. Okay, we'll take a couple more, and then I'm going to get the hell on out of here. Zip away. Hello, Fred. What are your thoughts on their brand split so far? I give it a thumbs in the middle. It's very early, but I give it a thumbs in the middle. There are some guys being showcased right now, more than they were before. I don't necessarily mind the Randy Orton Brock Lesnar thing because it is an interpromotional match. It's a special match for SummerSlam. I don't like the fact that John Cena and AJ Styles are showing up for dark matches on Raw, and Roman Reigns has shown up on SmackDown. It's just wacky to me. Either do a brand split or don't do it at all. It's for a live crowd. It's not that bad, but it's still kind of corny. It's almost like, not that they're having buyer's remorse, but they're getting a little bit of cold feet. Like, oh my God, what if we don't draw? Well, maybe you should have tried to strengthen the brands the last 2 months before you freaking, did a draft. And also, Daniel Bryan showed up on Raw, and nothing really getting accomplished between Raw and SmackDown. Yeah, that was kind of lame. Nice to see Bryan, but it was kind of lame. So overall, right now, I give it a thumbs in the middle. And okay, we'll take one last question. Can you spoil Lashley versus James Storm, Fred, so I don't have to watch Impact? Actually, Impact's been one hell of a show the last few weeks. I hated Matt Hardy's character at first because it was so stupid, and it was just weird and wacky, but this guy put so much effort into this gimmick. Did such a 180 from the Matt Hardy we used to know and love. And the final deletion and all these other skits that they've been doing in relation to the final deletion have been so well produced. Lucha Underground, eat your heart out. These skits have been awesome. And the fact that they were probably produced with a fraction of the budget Lucha Underground has, even more impressive. So they won me over. I'm not going to lie. I was not hot on it, but they won me over. And I died. I howled with laughter when Matt Hardy last week pulled a fan from ringside and bit him. Got blood in his mouth and then screamed like a evil squealing mammal. It was awesome. It was great. And yes, it's wacky. Normally, I'd hate this kind of stuff if it took place in WWE. But you know what? There's not a lot that TNA's doing better right now than the other promotions. It's hard to because there's so much competition, so much talent in other places. But I'll tell you this, these comedy, wacky skits, they're doing a hell of a job with them. And Bobby Lashley as world champion might be the best booked world champion in any company right now. He's just great. He finally found his groove on the microphone. He's been great in the ring for the last couple of years. He is awesome. So if I had to guess, Scott, because I actually don't know what happens on Impact, I would guess Bobby Lashley beats James Storm to win the useless King of the Mountain Championship and add more gold around his waist because he's also the current X Division champion. But yeah, I got really not much bad to say about Impact. There are some boring moments, of course. The TNA Knockouts division is practically non-existent. They need some more girls there, although Mia Yim's awesome and Allysin Kay's not bad, and you got Cherry Bomb and you got Gail Kim, but that's really bad at Slim Pickens. What do you think? What else is there on Impact? Eli Drake, he's pretty good on the mic. I like the dummy stuff. I don't care for him in the ring. I'd say the only real big issue I have with Impact, besides the usual TNA woes of branding and the wacky King of the Mountain Championship, is just that I find myself a lot more interested in the promos and skits than I do what occurs in the ring. And I think you kind of want to have some focus on what occurs in the ring. So that's my lone major complaint, but lately TNA's been pretty good. I can't complain. But folks, I guess I'm gonna get on out of here right now. I appreciate you guys watching. If you enjoyed this recap show, please click the like button. Please share this with all your friends. Please, if you're listening to this on demand, feel free to rate us on iTunes, SoundCloud.com/TSC News. Please feel free to rate us on Google Play, Stitcher. We're available also on Player.fm, and of course YouTube Red. Thank you very much. Until next time, everybody, as always, enjoy the matches.